Ah, it's so hot. Isn't there anything cold to drink? Marcia, my sister-in-law, just got home and exclaimed loudly, as if she wanted everyone to hear. If she was out, why didn't she buy something on the way? Hey, you with a big belly, can you get me some ice cream? Sure, my belly is big because I'm close to giving birth, but that's no way to talk. Oh, and if you're going shopping, pick up some 2-liter bottles of tea, 2 of them. Even my mother-in-law, Roseanne, treats me like a housekeeper. I was reaching my limit with this life. Maybe it's time to end this. My name is Sophie. I'm 25 years old. I work at a food manufacturing company. My husband is on a solo assignment. His name is Georgie. He's 28, 3 years older than me. Georgie, a senior colleague at work, is in charge of new product planning and always looking for fresh ideas. I started falling for Georgie while working together on the product development team. Do I have something on my face? He asked, making me blush. Georgie's intense gaze was so captivating, I forgot I was staring. I was the one who asked him out. I couldn't help but fall for the competent Georgie. We started dating and got married last year. 2 years ago, the long-awaited proposal from him. I want you to marry me. His straightforward words filled me with joy. Georgie's family includes his 8-year younger sister Marcia, his mom, and him, a family of 3. Georgie's dad passed away about 5 years ago from a heart attack due to overwork. At that time, Roseanne was a housewife with no income, and Marcia was still in middle school. The company admitted full responsibility, paying a substantial settlement to the family. The money greatly helped with Marcia's school fees and their living expenses. Already working then, Georgie supported his family by working tirelessly. That's why, after proposing, he said, I've been supporting my family in place of Dad, and that won't change. If you're okay with it, Sophie, I'd like us to live together. I wasn't too surprised, but I couldn't hide my anxiety. But Georgie, with a serious face, I'll do my best to properly mediate between my mom and my sister. Trusting him, I decided to follow through. 2 months after our honeymoon, around Christmas, I noticed changes in my body and saw a doctor. I was 3 months pregnant, probably from our honeymoon. I was nervous, but decided to tell Georgie. I'm pregnant! I'll never forget his happy face. Knowing a new life was growing inside me, I felt a deep love and resolved to protect our child with Georgie, no matter what. But at the end of last year, Georgie got a transfer order to Denver. We have to move by the end of March, he said sadly. I want to go with you and our baby. Is that okay? I said, still struggling with morning sickness and unable to do much. My parents' home is far away, and it's a hassle to get there. Plus, both my parents work, so I can't rely on them. After discussing with Georgie, we decided it's best for me to stay at his parents' house, considering my due date and the fact that my company offers proper maternity leave. Back then, there were occasional complaints about my cooking or cleaning, but I didn't feel any real malice from Roseanne or Marcia. However, when Georgie left for his solo assignment, their attitude towards me changed drastically. Georgie and I were great partners at work and at home. We'd often lose track of time discussing new product ideas. Roseanne, not understanding our work jargon, felt ignored. Marcia seemed to resent me for stealing her brother, who had been like a father to her. Both Roseanne and Marcia had been harboring unfounded grievances against me, which started to surface with Georgie away. My maternity leave was still a while off, but I was often off work due to prolonged morning sickness. Even a slight smell could make me nauseous, and I was frequently hit with sudden drowsiness and headaches. The morning sickness should have settled by now, but it was lingering for me. I couldn't focus at work, and even left early a few times after informing my boss to avoid mistakes. Roseanne, despite being a housewife for so long, hardly did any housework since Georgie and I moved in. At first, I thought she was deliberately leaving the chores to me, but Georgie told me she had always been inactive. Her late husband had been quite the diligent one. Often lounging around at home, Roseanne would scornfully comment when I returned early from work. Skipping work again. Modern pregnant women sure know how to slack. Back in my day, we had to tough it out. Struggling to hold back my discomfort, I replied with a pale face. I'm sorry, the nausea won't stop. I just need to lie down for a bit. To which she retorted, We're What are you saying? You're a daughter-in-law. If you're home, you should be cleaning. Barely able to stand, I used the vacuum cleaner as a crutch to walk down the hallway. Suddenly, everything went dark. An overwhelming nausea hit me. Ugh! I tried to suppress it, but it was futile. I couldn't help it and vomited right there in the hallway. It was food I had barely managed to eat, but I threw it all up. Ugh, how disgusting! What are you doing? Roseanne just made a face of disgust, showing no intent to help. You made the mess. You clean it up. She said dismissively and walked away. Crying, I fetched a bucket and rag to clean up my vomit. The smell made me feel sick again. But my stomach was empty, so only bile came up. I couldn't stop crying, whether from frustration, sadness, or nausea. When you're done cleaning, start preparing dinner. Roseanne used to at least prepare dinner when everyone was out, but today, since I returned home early, she had no intention of moving. I came home to rest, but there was no chance for that. Starting to cook, the smell made me nauseous again. I couldn't stand the smell of fish or meat, and even vegetables were too pungent for me. All food smells were unbearable. Struggling to suppress my discomfort, I desperately continued with the meal preparation. My taste had changed, and I couldn't discern flavors. I couldn't even taste the food because of my nausea. Still, I managed to get dinner ready just as Marcia returned. Oh, Sophie's cooking today? That's a rare treat, she said, sitting at the table. Then taking a bite. What's this? It's tasteless. I can't eat this awful food, she said. Then Roseanne joined in. Ugh, this is terrible. Did you even taste that? She spat out the food she had put in her mouth. I was too nauseous and sensitive to smell to taste anything. Roseanne, who had been through childbirth, should know this, yet she deliberately didn't help. Mom, let's just go out to eat, Marcia said in an exasperated tone. She's young and probably doesn't understand the difficulties of pregnancy, but I wish she'd consider how hard it was for me to cook feeling this ill. That's a good idea. Sophie can't eat anyway, so she can stay home, Roseanne said as she threw away the food I made. I stood there feeling helpless and frustrated. I used to think Georgie's occasional grumbling was annoying, but now it seemed endearing. When Georgie, the main breadwinner, was around, they hid their true colors to keep him happy. With no one to restrain them, Roseanne and Marcia finally showed their true feelings. As the nightmarish spring ended and summer began, my morning sickness finally eased. Is the cleaning done? There's dust at the entrance. Roseanne would start the day with her scolding. Mom, keep it down, will you? I got home late last night, Marcia complained from her room. Marcia, now a sophomore in college, has been coming home late every night, and her attitude towards me hasn't changed. As my pregnancy progressed and walking became harder, their treatment of me worsened, especially after I started my maternity leave in June. With me home all day, they found more chores for me to do. Still, I endured for the sake of my unborn child. Then, on a hot day in July, as my due date approached, It's so hot today. Hey, big-bellied, chubby lady, go buy some ice cream, Marcia said rudely. My belly was indeed swollen, ready to give birth any day. I don't know about asking a pregnant woman who has trouble walking to run errands, but even so, there are a few more ways to put it. You're going out. Get 2 2-liter plastic bottles of tea, Roseanne added, without a hint of consideration. The bottles were heavy, and that's 2 bottles. It was hard for me to see my feet, let alone walk without stumbling. Reluctantly, I headed to the nearby supermarket. Inside, the air conditioning was strong, and the aisles with ice cream and bottled drinks were chilly. While walking down an aisle, I suddenly felt dizzy and sat down. I realized my underwear and the floor were wet. My water had broken. Calm down, you're okay, a store employee comforted me. They called an ambulance and I was rushed to the hospital. I never expected my water to break so suddenly. Should we contact your family? The nurse asked. I gave them the phone number of my in-laws' house, expecting them to be worried, but when Marcia answered the phone, So she's in the hospital because she was out shopping. We're busy here. Just let us know when she's given birth, she said, showing no concern. They had sent me out shopping, pregnant and close to labor, without a second thought. I asked the nurse to also contact Georgie, who was on assignment. He was the only one I could rely on. Labor began, and Georgie arrived at the hospital that night.
"Are you okay? I was worried. I heard you were about to give birth, so I rushed here,"
Georgie said.
"What about Mom and Marcia? Didn't they come?"
He asked, puzzled. I wanted to tell Georgie everything that had happened while he was away, but it wasn't the time for that. The labor pains were getting closer together, so I entered the delivery room. I wanted Georgie to be there for the birth, but he couldn't enter yet because of infection control measures. So Georgie had to wait in the waiting room. Despite the sudden water break and being anxious about my first birth, I had a relatively easy labor, and soon the delivery room echoed with the cries of a healthy baby. It was a beautiful girl. Holding my newborn in my arms, I was moved to tears. The child who was just in my belly is now right in front of me. I felt the reality of becoming a mom all over again. Georgie's eyes were tender as he looked at our baby in the newborn bed. After a successful delivery, I talked to Georgie about the incidents at his family's home, how I was forced to prepare meals despite my relentless morning sickness, the numerous times I vomited while cleaning, and having to clean up after myself every time. There was no end to the stories.
"So I've put you through a lot. I'm sorry I couldn't be there for you,"
Georgie said, bowing his head. But it wasn't Georgie's fault. "It's okay. You had to work. But what should I do about that house now?" I said, tears welling up in my eyes.
"It looks like I won't be returning to headquarters for a while. Now that the baby is born, why don't we move in together?"
Georgie's suggestion made me cry with joy. "Thank you, but please wait a bit longer." Though I wanted to go to Georgie immediately, I couldn't settle with the way Roseanne and Marcia treated me.
"In fact, I've had a hunch that Mom and my sister have been selfishly relying on me. I've been supporting them as their son and brother, but I've started to tire of that lifestyle since marrying you."
Georgie shared his troubles with me. "Georgie, you've had it tough since your dad passed away." I understood his feelings all too well. But because of our relationship, it was hard to keep a distance even when it felt burdensome. "I'll come to you once things settle down." Concerned about moving with a newborn who couldn't even hold her head up, I decided to return to my in-laws' house after being discharged. When I returned home with the baby, Roseanne greeted me cheerfully. "Oh, what a lovely child. Looks just like Georgie as a baby." Roseanne greeted me with a big smile. "Your eyes are the same as Georgie's," I answered, drawn by Roseanne's smile. "Nobody told you, right? Keep it a secret, will you?" Roseanne glared at me sharply. Marcia, on the other hand, was innocently excited. "I want a child soon, too. I'd prefer a boy." They both ignored me, showing a completely different demeanor. I was worried that Marcia might do something to me or the baby. Then I noticed Marcia looked a bit off. She was pale and seemed unwell. "Marcia, are you feeling okay?" I asked, feigning concern. "I've been nauseous lately, and I don't have much appetite," Marcia said modestly. Her attitude was completely different from when she mistreated me for my nausea. "Oh, could it be you're pregnant?" I prodded to get the truth out. "No, it's not that. I think probably." Though she denied it, she seemed to have a clue. I recalled Marcia coming home late and staying out often since spring. "Ugh!" Suddenly, she clutched her mouth and rushed to the bathroom. If she really was pregnant, being a college student, what was her plan? From her eagerness for a child, she seemed intent on giving birth and raising it. But had she even told the father? Being a single mother requires financial stability and commitment. It's not that easy. Though Georgie's real sister, I just can't forgive Marcia for how she treated me. Roseanne, being her mother, would try to help Marcia, I guess. When I was suffering from morning sickness, not only did she not help, but she made me work even harder. I could have miscarried. Knowing Marcia's pregnant now, I just can't bring myself to help her. It's a miracle my daughter was born safely in that situation. Maybe Marcia senses this, because she seems frightened when she sees me. In those moments, I deliberately return her gaze with a forced smile. It must make her feel even more uncomfortable. It's no wonder. After all, they've tormented me so much. And now I'm in a position where I do nothing in return. Hey, Marcia, be honest. You're pregnant, aren't you? Who's the father? I asked her gently, feigning kindness, while she struggled with nausea. Marcia, surprised, opened her eyes wide and teared up. I think it's a senior from the same college. I told him many times, but he just denies it. What should I do? Serves her right for bullying me when I was pregnant. Though I thought this, I pretended to be sympathetic. So what are you planning to do? Are you going to have the baby? I asked Marcia in a calm voice. I'm scared. I don't know. But frankly, I didn't care. After all, it's her fault for fooling around with men without using contraception. At 20, you're socially an adult. You've got to take responsibility for that. Even Roseanne seemed to have noticed Marcia's pregnancy. You're still a college student. Why would you do something so reckless? Roseanne lamented, shedding tears of anger for her daughter's irresponsibility. But it's her own fault. Hey, Sophie, help Marcia out. Aren't we family? Roseanne pleaded with me, but who was she to talk? I guess there's no helping it. I'll let bygones be bygones with how you've treated me, I said, not meaning a word of it, even smiling as I spoke. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Ever since my husband was alive, I've left all the troublesome matters to others. I can't handle it alone. Please help Marcia. Roseanne begged, completely changing her tune. So I'll ask you one more time, Marcia. What do you want to do? I asked Marcia. I want to have the baby, she muttered through tears. I thought Marcia, with no means to live, wouldn't be able to raise a child. Well then, I'll support you, I said, encouraging her, but inside, I hoped she'd suffer the hardships of pregnancy just like I did. I'll do nothing. I just supported her. The decision was Marcia's. Time flew by and spring arrived again. My daughter's neck is now steady, and her features have become distinct. Marcia's belly has grown significantly, making it necessary for her to take a break from college. She's suffering from worse morning sickness than I did, completely exhausted every day. Hey, Sophie, can you give me a hand? I help her with whatever she asks, overly so. It seems Roseanne and Marcia have completely forgotten what they did to me and trust me implicitly now. I think to myself, how convenient for them. It's about time. I guess it's about time. Roseanne, Marcia, I have something to tell you. I called out to them. Roseanne and Marcia sat down in front of me together. I appreciate everything up to now. I've decided to live with Georgie, so I'm leaving this house today. The rest is up to you two. My sudden declaration seemed to catch them off guard. They just sat there with their mouths agape. Didn't you hear? I'm done taking care of you two. You're adults. You can manage, right? Good luck, I said coldly. How could you? He won't acknowledge it, and I might have to raise the baby alone. I was counting on your help, Marcia. That's cruel. Marcia cried out in anger. That's right. In tough times, families should help each other out, right? Roseanne added, blaming me. Family? When I was suffering, you did nothing to help. Remember when my water broke while shopping near my due date? You ignored me. Don't talk to me about convenience, I shouted, venting everything I'd been holding back. Roseanne and Marcia shrank back from my anger. Well, that's... As I stood up to leave the room. Wait. Roseanne pleaded from the floor, deeply apologizing and begging me not to leave. Please don't leave us. Don't abandon us. Seeing this, Marcia joined her side and apologized too. When I was pregnant in this house, no one helped me. The memory brought tears to my eyes again. I endured doing housework with a big belly, bore the sarcasm, and struggled alone without anyone to rely on. I've endured all this time, and now I'm starting a new life to reclaim that time. Don't make me say it again. I'm going to live with my daughter and Georgie. After all, we're family, I declared. Georgie seems fed up with you two as well. He said he's stopping the financial support. I spilled everything Georgie had told me to Roseanne and Marcia. Georgie would never do that. Don't lie, Roseanne cried out. That's right. My brother wouldn't abandon us, Marcia added. But I knew Georgie was tired of taking care of his mom and his sister at home. Ever since our father-in-law passed away, He worked hard to support them. But once he saw their true ugly nature, he couldn't take it anymore. You two are to blame for Georgie feeling this way. Always doing as you please without considering him. I felt relieved, venting everything I had bottled up. It felt like the long-lasting nausea in my heart was finally easing. After that, I quit my job and started living with Georgie and my daughter. Georgie adores our daughter and never leaves her side when he's home. I almost feel jealous of my daughter for monopolizing Georgie. I've decided to work on myself so I won't lose Georgie to her. Marcia ended up having her baby alone. Apparently, she broke up with her boyfriend. She'd been dating several men, and it seems no one knows who the father of the baby is. No wonder she was left alone. The rumor spread, and she couldn't stay at college, so she dropped out and now works as a hostess to earn child support. It's like a child having a child. Neglect seems inevitable. I pity the child. Roseanne, after the insurance money from our father-in-law's death ran out, and Georgie's financial support stopped, started working part-time. But her inherent selfishness and sharp tongue don't make her popular among her co-workers. It's hard to change one's nature after the mid-50s. While our rented life with Georgie and my daughter continues, we're discussing building our own home soon. And there's a new life growing in my belly again. Will it be a boy or a girl? I'm looking forward to it.